Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Father Ted Talks. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about, um, you know, the phenomenon of marrying people within the church, and not just that, but more about kind of the increasing um, phenomenon that we have of marrying secularists. Now, what do I mean by that, marrying secularists? Because we could technically say that, we often marry secularists and we often baptize children of secularists as well. And what do I mean by a secularist? Well, the person who is secular is the person who is worldly, the person who is not really engaged in their faith. They're not really engaged in their church community. They're not really, engaged on a day-to-day basis with the Orthodox faith. They're kind of like baptized Orthodox Christians on paper, but they live their lives as if God is not really that important. The faith is not really that important to them. This is not a criticism on them. This is just kind of an observation that, of course, we have a lot of baptized Orthodox Christians who are really living lives as secularists. So as priests, we have this observation that, I would say, unfortunately, especially in the really, really big parishes, just like here in Prophet Elias, but in many places, a lot of times when we are doing marriages and baptisms, a lot of times the people that we are marrying, we don't know who they are, which means that we've never met them before, or we've met them only recently. That's because they don't go to church, so we don't have a relationship with them. We don't know who their spouses are, their fiancés are. We don't know, what their presuppositions are, like where they're coming from, what their thoughts are on marriage, and worse yet, we don't usually see them again after they get married or after they baptize their kids. They kind of just disappear from the parish. So it's kind of like they step in, or they stop in to the parish to do this one thing that either mostly culturally, they feel obligated to do, but then they kind of shuffle off and go back to their secular lives. This can be very, very frustrating for priests. Now, granted, there are some priests who will meet with people beforehand. They will try to do marriage counseling. They will try to send them videos about, the marriage sacrament or the baptism sacrament, try their best to educate people, to kind of try to raise awareness of what they're actually doing with, by engaging that sacrament, so that maybe, just maybe, they will be inspired to kind of re-engage and reconnect with the community. But most of the time, these things fall on deaf ears, and the priests often feel a disenchantment when they see these things. Even priests who enjoy doing the sacraments, they're personable, they're good with the couples, they're good with the parents of the babies. Everything goes well. The sacrament is beautiful. Everything flows nicely. People have a good experience of it. But then, even then, afterwards, the priest never sees these people again, and there's no interest to have any connection with the parish. So the priest almost feels like, I hate to use the word, and I know it's going to be a little bit controversial, the priest and sometimes the parish administration and the chanter, everybody who's involved in that sacrament, they almost feel a little bit used. They almost feel like, well, listen, the person came in, they kind of paid their donation, and they got the sacrament, and then they left, and they don't want to talk to you again, right? And that sounds really, really horrible, but this is kind of like the feeling on the church's side, right? And then sometimes the priest might think to themselves, or the chanter, or the people who are kind of like the volunteers who are helping out, they'll say, why are we doing this in the first place? Like, why are we putting in all this effort and all this energy into marrying people who don't really consider themselves to be Orthodox in the first place? Or why are we putting in all this energy and all this effort and all this kind of administration into baptizing children of people who don't intend on bringing their children ever to church or raising them in the Orthodox faith? So, of course, the answer to this, the hopeful answer, is that the church will always bend over backwards with the hope that these people will always re-engage with Christ. So we want to keep the door open. The loving parent always has their arms open, always has the door open, so that the child will always know that they can always come back, even if that child never does come back, or even if that child spurns the embrace of the loving parent. So the church kind of bends over backwards, does all these things to keep the door open, right? So, we want to marry people because we want to keep them in good standing with the church. We want to keep them in sacramental connection, so they can keep communing, they can keep participating in the sacraments, so they don't get married outside of the church. We want to baptize parents' children so that their kids can be part of the faith, even if the parents will not even raise them in the faith, and the children might grow up to be secularists and never engage in the Orthodox Church at all. But the door is open. The possibility of that child coming back to the faith at some point and having the ability to engage with the faith because they're already baptized it's there. If the baptism doesn't happen, then the door is completely closed, and there's one more impediment to becoming Orthodox later in the future. So we do these things, and we bend over backwards, and we accommodate a lot of different people, but from an honest point of view, as a priest, it is frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. And I'm trying to be real with everybody here that, it's very, very difficult, because we as priests and the chanters and the sacristans and everybody else who works in the church, we put in so many, many hours because we care about positions, we care about the ministry that we do, and we're trying our best through these countless hours and exhaustion, a lot of times physical and mental exhaustion, to provide a positive experience of the faith to people, to be good ambassadors to the faith. And I know this is not always the case in all parishes, but at least I can only speak for Prophet Elias here, and for many of the priests that I know, we try our best. And so we do all this. It's like we're making overtures to the younger generation so that they may re-engage with Christ. And when that is not reciprocated, it is a little bit sad, because then, you don't see those people until the next baby they have, or you don't see that married couple until they have children, and now they want to go through the motions, quite literally going through the motions of baptizing their children, and then again, you don't see them again until the next one, and so on and so on, until the day, unfortunately, when they have to deal with a funeral. So this is not a good trend in the Orthodox faith. Of course, it's not for everybody. It's not, I don't even know if it's the majority. It might be the majority in some places, but it is a trend that happens within the church. It's probably a trend that always existed within the church, but it is something that we've seen a rise of, and it's getting a little bit worse in modern times, and the priests do notice it, and it is something that affects us as well. Emotionally, it affects us spiritually, it affects us like on a very, very deep level, because everybody, all of you are our children, and we care, and we try to be there for all of you. So I don't know, there's no real conclusion to this video, except that if you are a younger person and you're getting married, or you're having children now, I would say that, to take the chance to engage, to use these pivotal moments in your life of getting married, of starting a family, to re-engage with the faith, to see, is there value there? And if there is value there, we should follow up on it, and we should try to kind of, cultivate that faith within our household, as opposed to just leaving it at the sacrament and then forgetting about it and going back to our regular lives, where there is no prayer, or there is no church going, or there isn't an engagement within the home. If it's not important enough to kind of follow up with it, then we have to really ask ourselves the deep questions: why am I doing this in the first place? Like, why am I baptizing my children if I don't go to church? Why am I getting married to this person inside the church if I don't go to church? Like, why am I doing these things? And when we start asking ourselves these deep questions, one of two things will happen. Either we will realize that maybe we don't believe anymore, and then we'll go our own way and live our life in a secular way. That's one option. Or we realize that maybe there is something missing in my life, and I need to rectify that. So I'm going to make an effort to actually become more spiritual, more connected to my faith. Either way, I think that's the first question that we should ask ourselves: why am I doing this, and to what end? And beyond that, the Lord will give us the grace and the guidance to show us the way forward, either in our married life or in as new parents as well. So that's all I have to say about that one. Apologies if I offended anybody with this video, but it's just what was in my heart, what was in my soul, and I want to share it with all of you. Till next time, take care, and God bless.